All right. Here we go back again with another episode here in the other side of the coin. As you can already see, I've got my man Jay, I've got Johnathan. As I said, this pretty much might as well be their channel. I'm just here to, just present. And today, as you guys can see, I've got a new guest, Adam from Two Chelsea Fan. Is that right, Adam? Is that
Yeah,
what
two
you guys
Chelsea
call
fans.
Yeah, they're a couple of they're brothers. There's actually two, lads that control that particular account. They're brothers. Adam's the one who's more sort of is involved in more videos and podcasts and stuff like that, and his brother is more sort of the admin side of things. So, first of all, Adam, really happy to have you here. How's everything going, my man?
Not too bad. I'm happy to finally be on. I mean, as in how's it going? In the US, it's not too good, but I'm just happy that the Premier League's coming back and we could all escape for a little bit.
No, of course, man. I mean, stuff that's happening in America, that could be another podcast on its own. So, we'll leave that aside for the timing. But Johnathan, how's everything going?
Yeah, good. Excited the Premier League's going to be back. I know we talked about it being back. Morally, it might not be right, but money talks, etc. So I think everyone's now got to the point where they're just looking forward to it being back, whether they want it back or not. So yeah, it'll be good to see how Chelsea get on for the rest of the season.
And you almost missed out on the podcast, so just letting everyone know. Never do that again, please.
A few issues. Don't even tell me. Life just busy, man. But yeah, thanks for having me on there.
Of course, Jay, man. I've been waiting. It's been a while, man, since we did our last episodes. We did that series. So glad to have you. How's things with you, my man?
Yeah, good. I'm on the sunny south coast of England in Bournemouth, so it's really nice weather. Obviously a lot going on in the world, but let's hope we can give a few people a little bit of respite for the next hour and discuss something quite interesting, as we always do.
100%. That is absolutely the target and the objective. So let's get cracking into it. All right. So today's discussion is the left back discussion. Of course, we've seen it this season already, how much of an issue that position is. We've seen it in past seasons as well, that it's been an issue. Even last season under Sarri, it's been an issue. And to be honest, in my opinion, I feel since Ashley Cole has left, I don't really feel we've nailed that position with any particular player. There's been players since Ashley Cole who's sort of played a season here and there, but not really anyone that's knuckled it down. So first of all, what I want to talk about this particular left-back position is understanding the crux of this issue. What is the issue that's happening? What are we trying to achieve from left-back that we're not being able to see right now with the crop of players that we have? I'll start off with Johnathan first of all. I'll give the newbie a bit of a look into how everything goes here, so he just can relax for a little bit. First of all, Johnathan, this left back issue, in your sort of opinion or in your impression, what do you think is Frank trying to achieve here? He's been chopping and changing a lot with Emerson started off really well. He had that injury. And then he's never looked the same again. He's given Alonso chances as well, whether it be 5 at the back or 4 at the back. He's looked good going forward. Defensively, he's looked a bit dodgy. And then he's also played Azpilicueta as a fill-in player in that position as well. So what do you think is missing for him? What is he actually looking for a left-back that he's not getting from these players?
I think he wants a left-back that can attack. He wants his wing-backs to be heavily involved in the game. He wants to press the other team back. But he obviously wants the attacking aspect of it, but he also wants the defending or the defensive aspect. And I think that is where Alonso's fantastic going forward, defensively lacks. Emerson's a bit more defensive, but then doesn't offer as much attacking. And obviously, yes, his form completely dipped off after his injury. So yes, Azpilicueta can deputise, but that's where the problem lies. He wants a balance, and he's not getting it from any of his players. Alonso's fantastic for a 5 or 3 centre-backs and 2 wing-backs. He offers so much going forward, which is why I'd prefer to keep him over Emerson for the time being, because I think we can cash in a bit on Emerson, and Alonso can be someone that can change his system and can attack more. But realistically, he's not going to solve our issues. He's a rotational player for me. We need someone that can come in, can attack, can defend, and someone that we can rely on, because half our issue, and I've said it so many times, is defending. The left back, the centre back area has been a massive issue. If we could just sort the defensive aspect of that left back position, which some of the players that we've been linked with will do, it will go a long way to helping us for next season.
No, well said. Jay, I want to go to you now. Why has this been an issue for us to really find someone since Ashley Cole? I mean, Ashley Cole's been gone for a long time. We should have been able to knuckle someone down in this position since he's left. Why has this been a problem?
I think there's a couple of reasons for it, really. Firstly, it's hard to know what to do in that position because as the game's evolved over the last 10 years, you see that fullbacks become more attacking. Ashley Cole, he's probably the greatest left-back I've ever seen play, but he wasn't the most attacking player, if we're really honest. He was very defensive and he was incredible at being a solid defender. So Chelsea fans, it's hard to know whether we want to progressive attacking fullbacks or whether we want someone that maybe is a bit more defensively sound. I remember when Felipe Luis joined in that season, and I really liked him. I thought he was fantastic, and I think because of who Azpilicueta is and what he adds to the side and his role amongst the players, I think that's why he maybe got the nod at left back as well, because he's just so versatile. But I do think Felipe Luis could have given a bit more. However, he was aging. He was maybe 29, 30 at the time.
Yeah.
So it would have been the smartest move. He was there for one season, played around 20 games. And obviously we won the league and then he left. So he done well there. But I think it's just the evolution of the position has maybe caused Chelsea to struggle with knowing how to fill it, because even if you look at Reece James, he's such an attacking threat that do you want that on the left? Do you want someone that's going to sit back and cover a bit more? And I'm sure all four of us here, we've got names that we can throw out there and discuss, and they all offer different abilities. And I think the hardest thing is identifying the style of play we want, because typically Chelsea are a more defensive side. You look how well we play when Conte's managing or Mourinho's managing. They're both defensive managers, and that seems to be something the fans quite enjoy. And when Sarri was trying to create a bit more of an attacking philosophy, it was a bit harder for fans to understand that style, perhaps. So maybe we want someone a bit more defensively astute, but I can't help but think that realistically you have to go for someone a bit more attacking now.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, man, what you've just said. I think it's so true what you're saying in terms of the evolution of that position. I think we might have just been caught out and not kept up with that evolution. I want to go towards Adam now. In talking about this evolution, I feel in the beginning of this season, Emerson was adapting to that evolution. I feel he was defensively looking pretty solid. Going forward as well, he was helping out with the wingers, helping out with overlapping runs. He seemed to have the good balance. And then the injury happened when he was off in international duty. And he never looked the same when he came back. What do you think happened to him? I mean, there's players that go through injuries as well, but what didn't click for him when he returned back? What was going on?
I think we didn't have much depth at the position as it was, so he was sort of forced back in right away. And sort of to rival what Johnathan said with keeping Alonso, I'm more on the team of keeping Emerson on the boat just because we saw how good he could be for Lampard. While for Alonso, I feel like I've seen him have too many disaster classes for me to want him in the team. I feel like Emerson still could be that guy for us, and whether we bring in Tagliafico or if we just have Matson play behind him and slowly start to grow into the role, I sort of do trust Emerson more, especially after the break. I think he could progress into someone that could be that left back for us. It could be Reece and Emerson, just like Trent and Robertson.
Right. So you really reckon him coming back early and probably not being ready to come back hampered his situation to a point that his confidence was probably low after that?
Oh yeah, and especially since it was a muscle injury, it was hamstring, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. You never really want to rush too quickly back from those. So it's really easy for him to have rushed back just because he wanted to play under a new manager, had one bad game, and then thought, okay, maybe I don't suit this style. But I do think he's going to make it back. And at one point I remember thinking, I was like, wow, we have the second best left back in the league.
Yeah.
And I've never felt that way with Alonso, except when he was playing wing back. But as a sole left back, I've never been so confident since Ashley Cole.
Nah, well said, man. Go on to Johnathan. In regards to what Adam just said, honestly, I must say I probably agree with him in the sense that Emerson in the first part of that season, and I said it in my video today for the Tagliafico one. Everyone, quick plug-in, check that video out. And I said it in that video that Emerson really looked like probably one of the best left backs in the Premier League after Robertson in the first part of that season. Defensively strong, going forward strong. Did you feel the same as well that, wow, I think we might have just solved our issue here in the left back? Did you feel like that?
Oh, don't get me wrong, I was really impressed with him and he looked really good, obviously before the injury. I think sometimes you can't come back from certain things, and I just have a feeling that Emerson's not going to come back from this, and I just feel he's probably thinking, I'm on the way out, we can get some money for him, a few teams rumoured. It's not that I don't rate the guy, it's not that I don't think he could do better than Alonso, because defensively he's much better. Yes, he won't offer as much attacking, but when you have James going forward as he does, maybe it would be more sensible to have someone like Emerson. But as I said, I'm not sure we can come back for it. And I'm probably one of the only people that advocates to keep Alonso over Emerson. And the reason I say that is because of his attacking ability. And the emergence of Gilmour, how we've got Kovacic, we've got Kante now back, you've got Jorginho. In my opinion, if you have two or three, and Gilmour did it fantastically against Everton. Yes, they didn't play that well, Everton. He covered Alonso going forward so well. It didn't matter what Alonso did defensively because Gilmour was always there, or one of the other players was always there to cover him, Kovacic, etc. Now, if Alonso plays, let's say he stays and Emerson leaves, and he plays and James is on the right, you can have two that go up and down as long as you've got the 2-3 midfielders going over to cover. And what we didn't have earlier in the season when Alonso was bombing forward is someone thinking, right, he's gone forward, I need to check out his position. And that's where Alonso then gets caught out. He's not the quickest player. So, yeah, I think for me, I'm not saying he's the best left back. He is a temporary fix until we get someone, like we've been rumoured with, the Tellez obviously doesn't look realistic now, Tagliafico, etc. Until we can get them in, I'm leaning a bit more to Alonso just because of the attacking output. And I've said this before, I want Chelsea to be a team that rivals will turn up on the match day and go, they're going to hurt us today. We need to be thinking about our defending. Too many times this season, teams have come to Stamford Bridge or at home, they've gone, we can get this lot today. And if we score, they're in trouble. So that's kind of my theory behind it. Again, I know it's probably not the popular one, but that's kind of my reasoning behind it.
No, you've always said that. I know you've always said that. Before I go to Jay again, I want to give you that corker of a question right now. I feel like this is timely to just catch you out right now. If I was Roman and you're Frank, right, and I'm going, Frank, I can't get you a left back this season. I'll get you a centre back. I can't get you a left back. I don't have the money. Frank, I don't have the money. You're going to have to deal with Emerson and Alonso. Who is your left back next season and why?
If you've got a new centre back, that is going to solve half the issue. Someone that will be a bit more attentive to cover the left back role. And as I said, I want us to be an attacking team. As much as I like Emerson, I'd have to go with my boy Alonso. And I know, as I said several times, it's not popular. I think we can get more money for Emerson. So if you're saying we can't sign anyone else, I think we could then invest that elsewhere. And again, it's probably not, something that people agree with, but that's just what I'm feeling, to be honest.
Right. Let everyone know this. Johnathan will have Alonso in a back four because surely we're not going to be playing back five. So everyone, retweet that every time you see Johnathan. He will like that Alonso next season in the back.
He did have a few good defensive games, if I remember, where I was like, oh no, Alonso's playing left back. He's going to get burnt. And then he actually showed up, and I was really surprised. So I guess I could see what Jonathan's saying there. Yeah,
you know what? Just before the lockdown, I think he had his really, really fine moments there. There were, as you said, he's had some really good defensive performances. Like one against Liverpool, he did decently. Against Everton as well, he was decent. So, it's just the consistency that bothers me about Alonso. It's just, he's another Barkley. He'll have a blinder and then he'll have a shocker. I love Barkley, by the way. So, don't hate.
I get what you're saying. Completely get it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, now, just before we start touching on some of these rumors, I just want to ask you about if we are not to get a particular, any new left back, which could be a possibility, honestly. With Tellez going to perhaps PSG, we're going to talk about a lot more about some of these links. Do you see someone like Emerson perhaps could have a chance? I feel like, yes, there's rumors of him leaving. He may not come back from this, conference crushing moment. Do you feel he's got the game to probably bounce back?
I'd like to think so, just because you'd hope any sort of top level professional athlete would have the mentality to bounce back from a bit of a knock. But I actually do agree with Johnathan, though. I would tell
Nice.
Alonso, just because Alonso he's such a strange player. He's a bit like Origi at left back. You don't want him starting, but when you bring him on, he'll probably score. And sometimes you need those players in your team, because especially how we looked this season, I just feel that when Alonso's on the pitch, that he will have at least one chance a game where he will come very, very close to scoring. And and when he plays at left wing back, when he plays a wing back role, I think he's great.
He's phenomenal. He's phenomenal.
You could put a stick in the ground, right? That would be better at defending than Alonso. Alonso is rubbish at defending, but he's great.
Yeah.
His dead ball is brilliant. His ability to play a ball in from the wide left is great. He's fantastic at shooting. His shooting might be his best trait, which is weird.
Yeah.
And to have that player in the team, not necessarily starting, but to have him in and around, it is really useful. I mean, even from free kicks, you don't really want anyone else in the team on it when Alonso's there. I'd give Alonso pretty much all the time, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And he's performed in big games such as the free kick against Spurs in the semi-final, and he comes up clutch sometimes, and it's really nice to have a player of that ability that you can occasionally use. But I think we all agree we don't really want him as a starter. But Emerson, I think you get more money for Emerson. I think it might be a bit more better for his own career if he were to leave, because he is a very good player, and I do think he could play for another Champions League club. But on the list of potential left backs I've got here, I don't see why, especially in the current climate, we couldn't operate some sort of swap plus cash or swap deal for at least 3 or 4 of the players I've got here. Going the other way, because they're all Champions League clubs apart from one that I have these left backs. And I think most clubs would take him. I really do. I'm just not quite sure he has that special bit of that little essence that Chelsea currently have at the moment. And we're a very likeable club, and we've got a lot of players that people enjoy, and there seems to be a strong sense of community within the squad. And I'm not sure that Emerson quite fits the bill in that role, whereas I think Alonso probably fits more so. I think he's got a great relationship with Azpilicueta, with Giroud, with a few more of the senior players. He's won the Premier League, he's won other trophies, he's scored in big games. He's just painfully slow and positionally weak, but his role that he can play when we adopt a 3 at the back, and I've said this multiple times, that being versatile in your formation and your personnel is not a bad thing. And quite frankly, if you were to play 3 at the back, I can't think of a player that I'd rather have on the left wing back role than Alonso, apart from maybe a few that aren't in the Premier League.
No, absolutely, man. I think for me, he's probably one of the best wing backs at the moment. Like, I can't think of any other better wing backs than him.
He's definitely up there.
Yeah. Just before I go to Adam, wow, I don't know if I should take that as an insult for Origi or a compliment for Alonso when you made that reference. I'm still a bit confused about that.
Origi come off the bench with 20 minutes to go, and he'll have the opportunity that he sometimes takes, sometimes doesn't. Alonso has the exact same essence about him, that they will at some point be in that spot where they should score or play the pass. Even Batshuayi to some extent is like that.
Where clutch.
There'll be one one chance a game where he is in the most perfect position, and he might miss, he might score, but some players can't do that. Some players don't have that sort of instinct to be in that position, and Origi's not a top class player, but he's come through for Liverpool when they really needed him, and Alonso's done the same thing for Chelsea. That was
well said. Well said, man. Well said. Just to wrap up this first section of it, so it seems like Emerson, in general consensus in this discussion, seems like should be the person on the outer. Probably doesn't look like he could come back, off the back of the injury and the confidence being low. And if we were to keep, both of them, it's probably Alonso who should get more of an opportunity, which is scary to think, and which is great because we are in the market for a left back. So now going to Adam, let's talk about some of these links. First of all, let's talk about Telles. Adam, how much do you know about Telles? Have you been watching him? What excites you about Telles? What are his strengths and weaknesses? What's your opinion on Telles?
I actually haven't watched much of Telles, but what I have seen is that he seems to have that Alonso trait going forward, like Jay said. But I'm not too confident about him defensively, but I can't really speak on that too much just because I haven't watched many Porto games. Yeah. What I would like to say is, I guess this sort of stems back, but I feel like there would be no reason to bring in Telles, which we probably won't anyways. But if we do keep Alonso, I feel like it wouldn't really solve that position, as we would just have two of almost the same type of player. But again, if someone could tell me that he's much better defensively, then I would look into him as an option. But it seems like he's on his way out to PSG anyways.
Yeah, no, fair point. Johnathan, have you seen too much of Telles?
I've seen a bit of him. I've seen enough to know that he's an upgrade on what we have. I know Alonso's great going forward, but I would still bring him in for the fact that he is, I'd say, going to improve it a little bit. I was all for him. The fact that the PSG rumours have now come out have obviously got us looking elsewhere. Tagliafico's a name. We did a video and you did a thread about a month or so ago on Grimaldo. That's another guy. Yeah. I've seen more of Grimaldo than I've seen of Telles, but I'd say I've seen enough of Telles to know that he'd be decent. But I think he's not the guy that will come to Chelsea, and we need to focus our attention elsewhere, and I'm sure we'll get to that. So.
No, absolutely. Look, before I touch on another player, Johnathan, let's continue with the Telles conversation. Look, none of this stuff is ever concrete. I know PSG is just around the corner, they want to get it, but let's just say we do get him. I haven't seen too much of Telles, personally, but from the little clips and highlights I've seen, moving forward, he's quite devastating. He's got the, as Adam was saying, he's got the similar sort of traits attackingly like Alonso. He can take free kicks, he can take long range shots as well. We've seen some cracking goals from Telles from long range. He's someone who's ultra attacking. He loves bombing forward, loves overlapping, loves to put in crosses. His crossing accuracy probably not as high as some of the other ones like Tagliafico, for example, but he really, really tries to create a lot of chaos up front. When he's going up front, it's all chaos. But if we were to get him, as Adam was saying as well, and you've sort of touched, do you think, in regards to what we said earlier in the evolution of the left back position, does he really fit that, or are we still going to have defensive issues with him?
I think we will still have slight issues if we don't get another centre-back. If we were to get another centre-back, I think it would help someone like Telles coming in. And that's why I think one of the reasons why we were also keen is because he was one of the first names that was rumoured with us.
Yeah.
We knew he was going to be better than what we had. He was so good going forward. He's at a good age at 27. And, the rumoured money that we were going to pay for him was ridiculously... Well, in this day and age, 30 million doesn't sound like much, but it sounds like a small fee, but it's not. But I think for a quality player like that, I think that's why we're all for it. I think that's other names have now started to come in. I'm not so keen on Chilwell, but even someone like him, maybe a bit better defensively. But and I'll go back to my previous point of wanting a more attacking player. That's why I was fairly keen on Telles. So yeah, it's not to count him out. And as you said, deals are not concrete until they've been confirmed. And he was rumoured with PSG, then it quietened down, and it's come back again. Tagliafico, there's rumours about his 22.4 million fee or whatever. So the problem with having no football is no one else, or people don't have anything else to report other than transfer news. When the football season comes back, these things will just die down a little bit, and the attention will kind of be back on the football. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Until Fabrizio says, "Here we go," well, no one is going. No one is going nowhere. I need to see Fabrizio first up. Jay, I want to talk to you about Ben Chilwell. Look, I feel I've heard too many podcasts from Alex Goldberg's byline, where many of the journalists would come in and they've all talked about Ben Chilwell. I've also seen many, people, well-established journalists who've tweeted stuff like Ben Chilwell is the number one target for Frank. And I feel, honestly, for Frank, it's Ben Chilwell. That's his primary target. How do you feel about that, man? If we were to get Ben Chilwell, do you think he kind of solves our issue long-term in left back?
It's really difficult. Part of me does, because like we've said before, that this Lampard project, this sort of Chelsea revolution, this sort of change of style and philosophy, Chilwell fits the age bracket. He's only 23. Tellez is 27, 28. Alexandra is 29. So they would be more stopgaps. And if you want
Tagliafico is 27, turning 28 as well.
Yeah, exactly. So when you take that into consideration, this Chelsea vision we have is 3 years down the line, at least, maybe 4 years. Chilwell, 27? That's a pretty prime age for a defender. I think if we got him, it would signify that we're looking for defensive solidity more so than attacking prowess from that position. Not that he can't attack. He has got written here 4 assists and 2 goals, and he's only picked up 2 yellow cards as well this season. And just to put that into perspective, Tagliafico has 10 yellows. Has had 8 yellow cards. That's a different way of playing, and Chilwell's a really decent player. I think what has made Chelsea fans less enthused about signing him is the price, right? Yeah. If he was 30 million, you'd take him, but Leicester are extremely difficult to buy from because they don't need to sell. They can offer Chilwell exactly the same as what we can. We could probably offer a bit more wages and a nicer city to live in. No offense to the people that live in Leicester, but he's going to play Champions League football. He's going to start for England in that position. He's playing week in, week out. He's on a top wage, and he's in a great young squad. So it's really hard to price him away. It's the same with Maguire, right? They didn't need to sell him, so they can sort of dictate the price, and they know that Chelsea are going to need a left back, so they're going to run up the price a bit. And I think that's where the difficulty lies, essentially, because there's no one, none of us four. I don't think many of Chelsea fans in general think he's a poor player, because he isn't. And when he plays for England, he's really good. He's had a slight dip in form, but I think Leicester have in general. Just before the break, because Brendan Rodgers actually thinks a fantastic manager, but he tends to run his teams really hard. So when they're adapting to that new style and that new philosophy as well, it will take its toll. I do think he could be a really interesting player, and I don't think we're ever going to have a new Ashley Cole, and I don't think it's fair to burden people with that. And I think it's best to just sort of leave it where it is and move on. We'll never have another John Terry or Frank Lampard. It's just not going to happen. And we've said this with Mount. There's no point in putting Lampard and Mount in the same thing, in the same bracket, because they're different players. And whilst Mount may be a fantastic player, he's chances are he's not going to be Frank Lampard. So chances are any left back we probably isn't going to be Ashley Cole. But it could be really useful. And Chilwell is one of the players that, if he was more reasonably priced, I think fans would be happy to sign him. It makes teams that are in and around us weaker, because we're taking one of their starters. The nationality thing is either here or there, but he knows the players. He would almost certainly fit right in. And I think all these aspects make Chilwell quite a desirable player. It's just he's not too attacking, and he's going to be very expensive. And that is why Chelsea fans in general maybe would not want to go for him, because why would you pay 60 million?
Might have lost Jay.
Yeah.
Connection, I think, yeah.
Yeah, his connection was a bit up and down anyway.
Yeah,
hopefully
he'll
we'll
come back.
get. Yeah, hopefully we'll get him back. Let's go to Adam anyway. At 60 million, is that a bit too much for you for Chilwell, or do you feel if it is a project and we are looking for someone long term, is it worthwhile to splash that kind of money for someone like Chilwell?
Actually, I'm very against Chilwell. Just because every time I do tune in, he seems to have a horrible game. I remember the game versus Man City. He was run amok. And what I'd rather do, and I feel like this might be something Johnathan agrees with, is buy someone for half that price and invest more in a center back that could really cope with the defensive liability of whoever we get at left back.
Yeah.
Much like that Van Dijk effect, and just fix the whole back line with one complete signing. You're not going to fix it with the left back.
No, well said. I think this is what Jonathan's been saying for a very, very long time as well, that it's not necessarily a left back issue. It's probably a centre back issue as well in the left side. We sort that out, we probably could help out our left back a lot more. Johnathan, going towards you now, just to wrap up the Ben Chilwell sort of saga. Once again, as I was saying, if it is a project, do you feel someone who's 23? What's so bad about spending 60 million if he's going to play for us for the next, let's say, 10 years?
Yeah, very good age, and not to doubt his ability. I just think that price, bearing in mind, as Jay said so well, and we've all said, we can spend that money elsewhere. And you spend 30 million on the left back, that puts 30 million somewhere else. I'm not against spending 60 million. It's not my money, and I'm someone that I really don't care about price tags because it ain't coming out of my pocket. So if we spend 100 million on it doesn't bother me. That's why when I say about Havertz, Sancho, yes, it sounds like a lot of money, but ain't my money. So if we get Chilwell, I'm not going to complain because he's young. He is going to get better, and under Lampard, I think he will get better in the attacking sense. But yeah, I just think for the money and ability-wise, I think, and we'll go on to this, I think Tagliafico is now probably the best fit and the way to go, especially with his price tag.
Yeah, no, fair point, Jay. Welcome back, man.
Sorry. I'm in a university house, and I think someone reset the Wi-Fi, and I just dropped. So I'm hotspotting myself now. I really apologise for that.
No, that's fine. We could see your connection sort of going up and down, but we could hear what you were trying to say. It was still absolutely brilliant.
Sorry,
what
boys.
You were saying. No, that's fine, man. I think. Look, the general consensus here is that Chilwell, even though he doesn't really completely excite us at the moment, but I think it's good to understand the fact that he's young. We are in a project, and as Jay was saying, he's not in his prime yet, and he's decent already. He's decent, so he has the room to improve and really develop into a really good left back. And if that's the case, maybe it makes sense. But yes, that price. But then Johnathan, as he was saying, it's not really our money. If Roman comes in and splashes 60 million, so be it. Get Chilwell. I don't really care. But going to Adam, and I'll come back to Jay on this. Let's now talk about. I want to keep Tagliafico for the end because obviously he's the one that looks like is the biggest target at the moment. But Grimaldo is another name that was sort of thrown around a little bit, not heaps, but some rumors. As Johnathan was saying, we both of us did a collaboration where he's done a video, I did the thread, and honestly we were shocked. I was shocked. Johnathan was following. I was shocked at how good this particular player was, and playing in the same league as Tellez. I was just shocked that we haven't been scouting this particular player as well. You'd think that a very good left back, probably in the same price range as Tellez, I'd say. For me, what caught me out, and I'm not sure. So what I want to ask you is, have you been watching much of Grimaldo at all? Like, have you seen any footage of Grimaldo?
I can't say I don't pay attention to the Portuguese league too much. I don't watch it intensely, but I do pick up the odd highlights here and there, and Tellez usually did dominate those. What I can't say about Grimaldo is when I did see his stats, it didn't look horrible. I would prefer maybe steering away from anyone from the Portuguese league, just because if they're still there, especially as a defensive player, you'd think they would have gotten out a little sooner. It is a little suspect for me, especially I've heard Grimaldo not being the best defensively, but again, I can't speak on that until I watched a full game.
No, fair enough. Look, Johnathan, off the back of that, it has been said quite a few times that Grimaldo may not be defensively astute. And we've done our research, and it looked like 100% attacking-wise, he's very, very good. He's got the passing range. He's being that Portuguese background, he knows exactly. We've seen some really good passes from deep, crosses as well. What do you think about Grimaldo? He is in the shortish side of things. Do you feel in the Premier League he could sort of manage the big boys? Johnathan?
Oh, sorry, my audio has just got out. It's been a nightmare for us this episode, isn't it?
The two regulars have absolutely let the side down. Unbelievable form from both of us.
My apologies. I know you said about Grimaldo. So yeah, for me, my opinion on Grimaldo, I just think defensively he's really good. He can intercept play. He's a lot more astute defensively. Again, not as good going forward, but he can still cross the ball. He can still put good passes in. And for me, I was really for him. And the fact that we hadn't scouted him, and obviously we talked about it, Miz, he's a fantastic player. And to touch on Adam's point about them being in the Portuguese league, and obviously even Tagliafico in the Dutch league, etc. Ben Rama, we were talking about in the Championship. Sometimes it's not always for me about where they're playing. Sometimes players are comfortable or bids haven't been put in. So, I mean, I'm more. The only thing I have a problem with is Dutch strikers. Apart from Van Persie, etc. I've not seen that many. I mean, people will correct me probably, but so it's difficult for me. So I just think that it's for me. It's not the one for us.
Johnathan, get your son in here. Get your kid in here.
Not absolute nightmare today, I'm telling you.
That's all right. Let's talk to Jay now. Look, first of all, how much of Grimaldo have you seen? Have you seen at all of Grimaldo?
Yeah, I have. I've gone out of my way actually to watch sort of analytics and scout videos on all of the left backs I've written down here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've got 8, with a rogue shout as well, obviously.
Well,
Grimaldo is really interesting because he's very attacking, and I think when you're playing for Benfica, they are the best team in that league by quite a distance usually. 14 clean sheets is obscene. That's more than anyone on this list. Telles has got 12, but obviously the bottom teams in the Portuguese league are pretty rubbish, and when you're playing for Benfica, you're going to steamroll teams often. I think it's a shame that he doesn't get more national team minutes, but he's never going to get in over Jordi Alba. He hasn't got any goals as far as I'm aware this season, but he does have 8 assists, which is quite nice. But when you look at Telles has 10 goals and 9 assists. In 40 games, and that is actually obscene. But
that's insane.
From left back,
both Telles and Grimaldo are very pacey players as well.
Yeah.
Telles is slightly stronger in slide tackles, whereas Grimaldo stays on his feet a bit more. And even though he's not too tall, he's pretty good at standing tackles. He's got good positional awareness both defensively and attackingly. There's very little to choose between the two in terms of age. Grimaldo's a year younger. He is better defensively, I think, than Telles, and Telles is just going to drive forward relentlessly. But I do think Telles will go to PSG because, why wouldn't you? I don't. The ownership is something that players maybe don't think about enough. There's a massive issue with the owners of PSG, which would probably put me off as a player. But he will get a very, very comfortable wage. He will be starting. He will be in a team that's similar to Benfica in the sense that they domestically will dominate.
Can you imagine playing with Neymar and Mbappe? Come on.
You don't even need to play. You can just pass them the ball. Just give it to them, and then they do that.
Can you imagine Telles, Mbappe, and Neymar? Like, what the hell? That's cheating.
I think Fabrizio said today or yesterday that they've just purchased Icardi as well, or the plan is to purchase Icardi come through.
It's crazy.
Which it's all crazy at PSG, but I still don't think they've got a Champions League in them anytime soon. So but Telles might help that. I actually have as one of my rogue shouts, if you don't mind me throwing it in, is Juan Bernat from PSG. Now, he again has struggled for national team minutes, but he's been in the side. Juan Bernat has also spent a considerable amount of time at Bayern Munich, and now he's at PSG. His numbers improve in the Champions League. I don't know if you guys saw the first game, the Dortmund PSG game, but he was by far the best player on the pitch, and that was a field that had Sancho, Haaland, Neymar, Mbappe, had everyone on it. He was man of the match. He was absolutely fantastic. 11 clean sheets. He's 27, but this is where I think Juan Bernat could be an interesting player for us to pick up because he's never going to cost that much money. He's had excellent education. Being at Bayern Munich, who are always defensively astute, is excellent. Being at PSG, a team that domestically dominate, will help him feel a bit more confident in his own abilities. He's fantastic at dribbling. He's more skillful than people give him credit for. And I really can't see him costing more than 20-25 million. So I don't think he would be the worst down.
Do you reckon it's a possibility if Telles goes to PSG that we could possibly snap up Juan Bernat?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. You could get Bernat. They'll probably sell him. He would be good for us. He would maybe be a bit of a stopgap, but in the current climate when you don't know the situation with funds for the club, even though Chelsea are, as we know, going to be fine. We're one of the mega clubs or whatever people call it. But on this podcast, on this conversation that usually engage with, we try to find players that maybe fit the bill, that are a bit more sensible. And Bernat is a player that I don't think gets the credit that he deserves for being a very, very decent left back. And there's actually not too many brilliant left backs out there, and Juan Bernat is certainly up there for me in that he's a very, very useful player that's very experienced. He comes from teams that continually win trophies, and that is an attitude that you can't have. It gets bred into you through serially winning, and to have a mentality like that is underrated as well. And to bring that into the side, it could be a beneficial move. He's just one of my sort of more rogue shouts that I haven't seen any links. I doubt there will be any links, but I don't think it would be the worst idea for fans to maybe look into him.
I reckon you're onto something here. It's one of those Kai Havertz moment right here. I feel like Chelsea does business like that where we generally don't know, and we might have been linked so much we don't end up getting them, and then out of nowhere, Hakim Ziyech kind of style, deal that comes out of the blue. And this could be another one of those. And if it is, wow, you are going to bang big time, mate, because here we go.
I feel like that one might not come through, but it's definitely one to keep an eye out for.
No, it makes sense though. Like, he's played for Bayern Munich, as you said. Bayern Munich's champion team, so he would have seen a lot of winning mentality there. PSG, another winning mentality team. So I could see PSG taking Telles and someone like Juan Bernat, trying to find a way out. And 27 is a decent age, and he's the kind of experience that could fit in.
Definitely. Well, consider just he's Valencia, Bayern Munich, and PSG, and they're big clubs. He's played at every single level for the Spanish national team. He's far better than Kazawa, who plays at left back for PSG as well. And I think for you could probably get him for 20 million. And, you could sell Emerson for 25. That's 5 million profit that you can put somewhere else. And he would probably be perfectly fine for the next 2 seasons.
That's brilliant, man. Adam, now let's talk about Tagliafico before we wrap things up with some recommendation. Could be some hot takes as well, like Jay just put out there.
Yeah.
Tagliafico, man. Look, I've probably started to see a lot more of his highlights. I've only seen, obviously, Ajax versus Chelsea, the 2 games. And honestly, he didn't catch my eye too much. And I did see Ajax quite a bit last season in the Champions League specifically. And once again, yes, there were moments where he looked definitely really, really good. He obviously playing for Ajax, that beautiful football that they play, the Johan Cruyff style. He understands the possessional style, and he really helps out the wingers. He gets in the back of some fine movements from Ziyech, whipping in balls from the right, and he's sometimes there to clean up the act. So how do you feel about Tagliafico? Have you seen much of him in terms of his defense and offensive side of things? Do you feel like he could be the right fit?
I actually do. I've watched quite a bit of Ajax, not just the games we've played in the Champions League run last season. I tend to pick up on most of their topside games, them versus PSV. I always try to tune in, and the thing I could say about him is he never truly disappoints. Whenever I'm watching them, I don't think, oh no, they're going to get burned down the left. He always seems to have a solid match, like a 7 out of 10, and the fact that he could go forward is something that's great for me, as well as be solid defensively.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think our defensive issues are going to be solved from a left back, but he certainly is a step in the right direction, especially for 22 million. I think similar to what Jay said with Bernat, I think they do dominate domestically as well. So he's got that with them. They made a deep Champions League run, so I think he's got the mentality for it. And I would personally love to see him at Chelsea.
No, well said, man. Johnathan, the one thing that I really like about Tagliafico over the past couple of days I've been researching is his aggression. I know it could be a bit of a counterproductive thing because he's picked up a lot of yellow cards, but I love that kid's aggression, man. He's in your face. The clips I've seen, the tackles he makes, he gets up and he gets in your face. He really gives it up. I feel like we've missed that attitude. It reminds me of Ashley Cole when he used to marshal in that left area. He'd be in their face, really, really digging into them. Is that something that really excites you about Tagliafico as well?
Yeah, 100%. I'll say something about Dele Alli. People love to hate him. Diego Costa, people love to hate him. But when they're on your team, I'm not saying Tagliafico's at that level. Of course he's not. Yeah. But when you've got someone that has a bit of bite to them, is willing to do a little bit something extra in the game, I don't have a problem with it as long as you don't go over the limit. So yeah, I think that's one side of him that I like. I think, and I probably speak for a lot of people, his price is one thing that attracts us the most. He's had some good seasons at Ajax, and his agents come out saying that he's looking for a move. So all signs are looking towards him making a move. If Chelsea can obviously be at the front of that queue, it'd be fantastic. And yeah, I just think I wouldn't say he is an attacking left back. I wouldn't say he's a defensive left back. I think he's quite well versed in between. Yeah, and that's why. And there's been some interesting points on Twitter about him balancing out James. I think Jay said it earlier. James is going to be the one that generally gets forward. And if we can have a left back that can go forward, but can also be a little bit more astute defensively, that will help us in the long run, because James isn't going anywhere. So I think that's where he comes in and fits the bill. So yeah, I just think it would be a very good move. And, to go on Jay's Bernat, that's a very interesting one, because I was looking at names the other day, and that one I kind of looked at and thought, but then this was before the Tellers deal to PSG was announced, or rumoured. So interesting one. But yeah, I think for me, I'm just going to say my top 3 in terms of preference. It will be Tagliafico, Grimaldo, who, yes, we've not been linked with much, and then it would be Chilwell at the moment. I'm just counting Tellers out of it. So yeah, I think he is the one. And, looking at your thread before the video and then your YouTube video, just confirmed to me that he is the right move.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I want to ask Jay off the back of that, what really excites me a lot about Tagliafico is the link up between himself and Ziyech as well. Like, it makes sense to me. The research I came across, there's been plenty of times where either Ziyech's cross from the right and Tagliafico has been at the end of it, or even corners from Ziyech whipped in, and Tagliafico just knows the kind of delivery that's coming in and the type of run he needs to make. And he's been off the back of some of those really, really good deliveries. Is this something that you think Frank might have seen and goes, hey, this price tag makes sense? Already got Ziyech. Tagliafico wants to get out. Like, his agents literally come out and said this is going to be his last season in Ajax. Like, he's not staying in Ajax, and I think that's why Ajax has really put out there that, look, 22.4 million pounds, come and get your man. So, how do you feel about this Tagliafico shout and the Ziyech link up?
Tagliafico is a great player. I do 1,000,000% agree with you that we need someone that's a bit nasty, it's a bit aggressive. We're Chelsea Football Club, and we like to have someone like that, and we don't have anyone like that right now, and I think that would be brilliant for us. 38 games this season, 5 goals, 7 assists, 8 clean sheet, 10 yellow cards. So you have to be a bit careful with the yellow cards, but it's okay. I think it would make Ziyech's transition easier, and I do think Ziyech is going to do really well in the Premier League. I think it might make his life a bit easier. The price seems like a really good idea as well. Yeah. And also, I can't really think of other sides that would need him more so than us.
Same.
Really.
That's the other thing. Yeah.
Because if Leicester can keep Chilwell, fine. They will be perfectly happy with that. Yeah. City, maybe. But
I think they might give Mendy another year. They might just give Mendy.
And Mendy is a really good player when he's fit.
And don't forget Zinchenko probably.
Yeah, and he's all right. He's fine. Yeah, because City are good enough. Liverpool have Robertson, so it's really only us. Man United, Luke Shaw's still the highest paid fullback in world football.
Wow, what?
£180,000 a week, and so he's going to play. And he's not even that bad. But I don't think United are going to go in for him because they have other priorities. So Tagliafico seems like a good shout. My only concern is that Ajax play beautiful football and they are conditioned to play in a certain way. And Ten Hag is a fantastic manager that gets his side. It's almost like painting when they play, isn't it? They're very fluid and they're very artistic and there's a lot of expression. And when you take a player out of that setting and put them in something slightly different, it doesn't always work. That the flourishes aren't always there. So it may be something to consider, but I think he's been really good in the Champions League, which is something that's nice to see from players that are in typically weaker leagues. He knows what it's like to win games. He's got a great mentality. He's got the right aggression. I do think that Chelsea benefit from having some South American aggression in the side.
Yeah.
I really don't see why not. But for some reason, though, I can't help but think I'd be very surprised to see Ajax sell us 2 players and get sort of nothing in return. Although...
And Onana as well. Like, he's been rumoured. Yeah. Like, I really can't see 3 players coming from there.
I think Onana's going to go to Barcelona. But I can see with Tagliafico an opportunity there for Chelsea to utilise Ajax as a possible loan destination. I'm thinking players like Ampadu, who... could be great for us, but realistically, he's still a little way off the starting 11. I think exactly Maatsen as well. He can go there, but imagine if Ampadu had a season playing full time, he'd be incredible, and he's perfect for that. And to get that schooling and that education might be great for him. And we could say, look, we'll give you 35 mil for Tagliafico, and you can have Ampadu on loan for the season or however long, because he's still a teenager, right? And to get schooled in that way of football, there's really nowhere better. There just isn't. Chelsea Academy is great because we have the funds, but when you, as a purist, as a football fan, I think you say Ajax is the place to get educated in your football, right? So that could be something that we possibly explore if we were to get Tagliafico, because I think Ajax might want something in return. I mean, even Emerson could go there. Yeah, there's no. You would think maybe he would want something like Italy, or he would maybe go to a side similar in stature to Valencia. Ajax are a good side. They're domestically dominant. They they'll more than likely play Champions League football. They'll give him decent wages. Amsterdam's a beautiful city to live in. So there's loads of different possibilities, and I think Tagliafico is a really interesting shout, and I think he's probably top of the list. I mean, I do have some rogue-ish shouts of players that I like.
Let's hear them out.
Okay, so I said Bernat. I got Roussillon from Wolfsburg, who is he's around 26, French, incredibly pacey, very strong, has excellent technical ability. His dribbling numbers are fantastic. Wolfsburg have struggled recently to keep clean sheets, and he's much more attacking. But I think he could be someone that wouldn't be too expensive, and I think he's ready for a step up. And then I have Rafael Guerreiro as well, who's obviously been killing it for Dortmund. But he's more of a wing back. But what I thought was interesting with him is so he's played 32 games. He's got 8 goals and 6 assists, so he's close-ish to Telles. But Guerreiro's only played 71% of Dortmund's games.
Yeah.
So he's got a great output in limited minutes, and he has that positional awareness, especially going forward, and he's got the pace to track back. So he could be really interesting. And then also,
I find defensively though, I do find Dortmund a bit dodgy.
They are, and that's part of their philosophy, and that's just part of the way they play. I think they're willing. I think Dortmund would rather beat you 5-4 than beat you 1-0, and that's the issue with taking players from there. And then finally, which is maybe a bit too rogue, and I don't know if it would necessarily work, but I don't see why in games when we need to be very defensively astute, we couldn't give Tomori a go at left back purely because he's so fast, so strong. He's the quickest player in the squad. He's over 6 foot tall. If I don't want him bombing forward, but if he can stay back, he's got the legs to catch anyone. We all know that he's decent in a tackle. He's got a lot to work on. It might give him more minutes on the field. And it's something that I think you could explore, because with a player that young, that will stand out at Derby for being defensively incredible, I don't see why he couldn't do a bit of a job at left back, even if it was just in pre-season, just to see if he could manage himself and learn to be a bit more positionally aware. I think it might be quite interesting for him. I'm not saying that's the best shout. I just think it's maybe something that could work if we just needed that option.
I do appreciate what you said about tomorrow. I just feel maybe he might just be a bit caught out being in the left side and not being able to play with his left. Look, now, fantastic shouts. I want to wrap things up. I want to go to Adam now. Off all the left backs that we've talked about, who do you think, in your opinion, is your left back for next season? It could be the ones that we already have, or it could be some of the shouts that we've made. In your opinion, who starts for you next season, and you're going to be comfortable with that?
Okay, yeah. So first thing I would do is sell Alonso and put that money towards Tagliafico. Not that we'd need it, and he could play in that left wing back role as well, as he's really good on the ball. So that would sort of replace that part that we like from Alonso, and he could as well play left back. Then I would keep Emerson for the games where we either do play a back four or just need rotation for Tagliafico. And the odd game here and there for Matson, if he doesn't go out on loan, I think the left back position could be sorted.
No, fair point, man. Johnathan, Manhandle CFC, who's struggling today, really struggling today. Let's be nice to my man here, man. Let's really be nice, and shout out to his son as well. Johnathan, who is your left back next season? Yeah, talk to me about Emerson, Alonso, just the way Adam did, and Matson. Who's your man for left back?
Yeah, apologies for the nightmare today, but I think I will. I would say I'll stick with my. If we don't buy anyone, and we stick with what we have, I'm more than happy to have Alonso and Emerson rotate. If we want to be a bit more solid defensively, and Emerson doesn't quite keep up or doesn't get back to what he was, Azpi can always cover there. I think Mason. I think it's probably best that he goes out on loan, because even if we don't buy, I want him to get minutes, and at his age, if he can go to a club where he can get a lot of game time, it will prepare him for the future. And someone that we buy that's at 27, 28, the reason I like that sound of that is because they will instantly improve us in their prime. 2-3 years of good play for us, and then we can see if Matsson's is what we think he is, he can then come in and take over the mantle. So that's why I'm kind of keen, if we do buy, to get someone like Tagliafico in. And there's a lot of names being mentioned. And on Jay's point about left back, I was also thinking about Tomori covering at right back, because we only really have James and Azpilicueta there. If you've got Azpilicueta on the left, there's something wrong with James. Tomori could even cover right back, and being right-footed, that would work. So it's interesting that Jay said that, because I think, because of his pace, I think he could play left or right back makeshift, if we needed him on the odd game. So, we've seen Basinga play centre back, so why can't Tomori play left or right back? So, yeah, I think we do need to buy. The ideal scenario is we buy a left back, and there's debates on what our next best kind of position that we need to strengthen is, whether it's centre back, striker, winger. I'll always say left back, centre back. I like to, go over some points that I feel are relevant, and about my bucket, about the holes. You've got to, if you've got a bucket leaking water, you cover the holes. You don't just continue to add water. And for that, we have to sort out the defence. It is a massive priority, and I can't stress enough how, if we can sort these defensive issues out at left back and centre back, it will make us a much stronger team going forward. So, yeah, for me, Tagliafico, if not Alonso, Emerson, and kind of Azpilicueta.
Brilliant, man, brilliant. Jay, final thoughts, man. Your man for next season in left back. Who is it going to be?
Yeah, I think it probably would be Tagliafico if I was going to choose. I think that makes the most sense for price-wise, experience, age. I think he would help the side out more so than any others. I think it'd be great for Ziyech, who we are relying on to be a force next season. We are putting a lot of eggs in his basket, and to have someone that could help him out, I think would be really beneficial for him. But failing that, I do like the idea of Bernat, because I think it's a very sensible idea. And I think it might be I think he's definitely going to be available, and I really don't think he's going to cost too much. But yeah, I think I will sell Emerson. I'll keep Alonso as backup, and Tagliafico can be my starter if he wants to come to West London. I don't see why he wouldn't.
No, absolutely. We need some South Americans, as you said, that type of, crazy character in your face.
A bit more aggression, a little bit more aggression.
Love it. Nasty. That's it. I like that. For you, Martin, as well, probably for loan. Jay, Martin, on loan next season?
Do I send him on loan? Well, the thing is, where do you send him, right? He's very, very young. And Chelsea have one of the best youth teams in the world. So will he benefit more from being in a top under-21 side, or will he benefit more being in a men's team playing at somewhere like Vitesse? It's really hard. It's really hard to know. But I think maybe it might be time to give him some real first team minutes in men's football, and I would like to see him preferably a top 5 league side, and a side that is known for being defensively really strong, like Getafe at the moment. They are under somewhat of a revolution with Bordalas as the manager. They are
and with St. Kennedy there, so seems like some sort of
connection. There you go, and they're 4th in the league, and they rarely concede, and they are very, very good defensively. And I think for any defender that we send out on loan in the next 5-10 years, I think we need to send them to sides that play a defensive style of football, because I think they're going to be bred to attack. They will be taught to defend, don't get me wrong, but I think they're just the inclination for young players, especially you see from Dani Alves, Roberto Carlos onwards, Marcelo, these fullbacks who are changing the game. They know that they need to attack to go to the top sides, but it's important to be very, very solid defensively. Otherwise, you end up like Alonso in some sort of limbo where you can attack very well, but defensively you're too poor to play at a top side. And I'd like to see Maatsen at a side like Getafe, where he would learn to defend astutely in a very rigid formation. system.
No, fantastic, man. I love it, man. What a fantastic discussion, honestly. I don't know about you guys. I've loved it. I've learned so much here in regards to the left back situation. I think we can summarize it that Tagliafico is our man. We can all sort of agree to that. And I think most of the Chelsea fans can finally start to see as well why this might make sense. We were after Tellez, but maybe Tellez probably doesn't give us everything that we require from a left back position, and Tagliafico is probably the man that helps us out to really bring the balance. So, look, boys, thank you so much for being part of it. Adam, hopefully you've enjoyed it your first time, and I'm sure you'll be back again. And Jay and Johnathan, thank you so much, my man. Just the wealth of knowledge is just incredible. Until next time, see ya.